guess I was in here that Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Monday night I booked my trip at 5 p.m.
Why? What happened between Sunday night being here with us and Judah, and then Monday when you booked the trip? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I don't know. I've been like thinking about it, and I've been kind of driven by like, I don't know, risk taking and like being out of my comfort zone, and just like living a life that I just think there's something positive on the other side of like whatever internal combustion or whatever tells you to not do something, and like trying to get on the other side of that. So I've tried to
Freedom.
Push myself to do that.
Good for you.
And it was some, I would say, more difficult conversations with my parents that I'm leaving tomorrow morning when I said that. And so I headed out. I left the house at like 4 a.m. the next day, and then flew from Chicago to Istanbul. So I picked up Turkey as a country,
Nice.
and then Germany, and then I made it to Italy. It was like a 38 hour traveling day.
Woo.
And yeah, it was really cool. It was not what I expected. I thought I was going to be there for like a month. I ended up being there for like 10 days. I found myself, I guess, just at first, I didn't really know what I wanted to get out of the trip. I was going to try to like just meet up with people my age, try to look like for that crowd, or just like try to do something totally on my own. But yeah, I just ended up, I did some like touristy stuff to like see the old sites and the old architecture and like artwork and that sort of stuff. I ate some good food, and then so I started like in the Naples area and then worked my way up from Rome and then Florence and then to Milan.
Wow, good.
And and after that I was just like trying to like switch it up, and I went to Sweden,
Nice.
which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I spent a few days just like in Stockholm, which is a really like nice city. It's like Stockholm was like, if you let urban planners have their way, like you'd get Stockholm. If you cut out like any sort of like lobbying and just like let planners do their job, like that's Stockholm felt like that city.
Wow.
And then I spent 5 days like in the just kind of the woods in Sweden. It was just beautiful.
Wow.
Just like in a little cabin. And I just did some meditation, some yoga. I was like pretty much totally isolated. Was just on this little lake, and they have these like little archipelago. It's kind of like Seattle a little bit, if you've seen that area. It kind of looks like that area. But yeah, it was like perfect time to eat, because I don't know, it'll get to like negative 20 degrees in the winter, but it was like 75. So
Nice.
Beautiful. And it was just, and then I got the thought in my head, like, it'd be pretty cool if I just like circled the world. And then I went to Bali. I just kind of heard about it just from like, just online. I'd heard some things, so I was like, okay, let me try that out. And so that was another long travel day. I think it was 13 and a half hour flight to Thailand, and then into Bali was like another 6. And yeah, that was the point of the trip where I was like, I am like really out here right now. And that's when I kind of got the urge to like start making my way back. And it was just like, I've never really been to a place that's like so different from America, just in the way people live, in the way it definitely felt like a developing country, and you could feel like the energy of the people was very much like this day-to-day survival type thing. But they also had this beautiful like Hindu culture too. in like a lot of temples, and like a lot of people were doing like these offerings at the beach. But yeah, it was just like at rush hour, everyone's on these scooters, and there'd be like thousands of scooters, and like I couldn't navigate it on my own. Like I'd take like a taxi, or they had like a Uber equivalent, and you could like ride on the back of the scooter things. And so that was cool. And then I finished up in Australia. I totally forgot that it is winter there when it's summer here, so a little bit colder, but it was cool. And then I ended up coming back last week. I stopped in Arizona to see some friends, and then made it back here. Yeah, like middle of last week, and then slept for a couple of days.
I bet you did.
To just recuperate. But now I feel good. I'm like back, and I stayed healthy, and yeah, I'm just grateful. I definitely have a newfound appreciation of America. I was getting tired of some of the politics and the stuff going on, but I do have a great appreciation for this country and the people here. And I'm just now in this space of like figuring out. I just did this big move, and now it's very like faith-based. So like this theme I'm kind of working on now, it's like how to have like a faith-based existence while being somewhat pragmatic. Like that was definitely not a pragmatic move. Like you're not gonna find what I did taught in a personal finance class or anything like that. So yeah, I do have some bills to pay, so I'm like, the forces I think I'm feeling are like pushing me to like start working and get a job, all that stuff. So I'm trying to figure out like how to still live in this kind of faith-based realm while also being able to take care of myself and face just the realities of day-to-day life here. And if there's a balance, or if you just keep going, if I just keep going on this like
That's a good question for
faith,
you.
like this like what that balance is, or is it just like you just go fully head on, regardless of bills to pay or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely starting to feel like there's some signs that I have to get my just reality under control. But I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate.
Well, it's really very simple. Unfortunately, our mind likes to make it complicated. All you have to do is follow your heart. That's all you have to do. Follow your heart. Everything else will be taken care of. And we're your family, and you're going to be the family of these others. We have this family going, and we're going to take care of one another and help one another. And this is going to explode. And I'm sure we'll find something for him to do if he needs a job.
That's right.
I mean, we're gonna, supposedly, it's gonna, this person we've hired, Jen, and she's amazing, and so she's getting us out there to where now we can have a flow in of money, and so we're going to, some of the people like Liz we're going to hire, there's some people we're going to hire, and I'm sure we'll have a place for you if you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So.
Do you want to tell any stories about when you were young and needed to make money? How you did your spiritual journey and balanced that out with paying your bills and paying things?
It was very similar to what he did. Okay. It's not something I can tell you in about 5 minutes, but one of the things as parents, my mother, she would, it's like you've got a degree in finance, you would go to college, and you want to go to India and follow this guy. So she ended up going to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist said, "Is he happy?" And she said, "Yeah." And he said, "What's the problem?" Got right to it. But anyway, so my story was a little different, because I don't know if you know this or not, but I made a whole lot of money when I was in my early 20s. It was pretty amazing how I did that. And so I had the race. I had, back then macho cars were the thing, and I had a car that was actually not supposed to be driven on the street. It was supposed to be at a racetrack, because I had to have the most macho car, right? And motorcycles, a couple motorcycles, and a nice apartment with all the records and stereo and everything, and all the girls. And it's like, and then one day I just went lay down on my bed and said, "God, if this is it, just take me now," because that's the American dream. They feed us is, you got to work hard now. You got to do good in school and get into a good college. You got to make good grades in college and get a good job. You got to work hard in your job, and then one day, then you'll be rewarded. Well, that's bullshit. It's like that day never comes. So anyway, so then I went back then, of course, that was like the late 60s and early 70s. California was the place to be. So I bought a VW camper and so I could sleep in it and everything. Went out to California, met these people out there who were followers of Rajneesh, and they were just so full of love and dancing and singing and meditating and everything. And they said, "Hey, you don't need to sleep in your van. You can come sleep in our house here. Didn't charge me anything." And they never said, "Oh, you gotta become a sannyas and you gotta be a follower." They didn't even talk about it much. I had to get it out of them. How do you guys get like this? "Oh, well, we go to India every once in a while with this guy." "Oh, well, who's the guy?" And so I said, "Oh, actually, let me back up a little bit. I stopped at this is not a short story. I stopped at the Lama Foundation, which was a community near Taos up in the mountains. It was a group of people that were living together and supporting one another, an ashram, if you will. And Ram Dass, I don't know if you heard of Ram Dass, he was going to go speak there. And so I was going to stop there on my way, which I did, and met with Ram Dass and had time with Ram Dass and everything. And so there was a girl there named Sunflower, and she was looking for a ride to California. I said, "I'm going to California. I'll be happy to give you a ride." So she started to read to me from a book called The Mustard Seed, which was a book that Bhagwan wrote, and I was just blown away. It was about Jesus, and it's just like, holy cow, are you kidding me? And I was just blown away. So as soon as I got to LA, I went to this famous bookstore called the Buddha Tree and bought a bunch of his books. And then I went down to San Diego, and I found out that all the big cities had communities, had groups of his followers. What do you call that? I forget what the word is, but yeah. Well, they had centers. Centers is what I was looking. They had centers. So I find out about the center, and then I meet these people, and they just welcome me in, and it's like, and so I get into they say you can come stay at our house, and we dance and meditate and just they just love life. I mean, they were just so full of life. It was amazing. As they didn't worry about anything, and it was like, how did you get like that? I said, well, this guy in India. And I said, okay, I'm going. So the good thing about it is I went back and worked really hard to save my money. The good thing is the first time I went, I only took $3,000, but over there that was like $30,000.
Yeah.
And so back then, that's why it was easy for me. But I ran out of money after a while, and so I came back with the idea of I was going to make enough money, and I was going to go back for the rest of my life. I was going to be there there was a lot of people who just moved there, just stayed there. So I come back, I work really hard, like three jobs. I mean, I save every penny, and I don't know, it took me maybe a year or two, and I ended up with a large amount of money, and I bought this big Foot Locker and filled it full of stuff that I wanted, and I moved there. And right after I get there, he moves to America. So they asked for donations to help with the movement and everything, and so I donated most of that money to them, to the ashram. And then I just spent some time traveling around Europe and all, went to England and all, stayed there for a while and everything on my way back to America. And then I started working and saving my money and paying off my credit cards and waiting for, they were building the ashram in Oregon and waiting for them to get to a point where I could just go move there. And so I just moved there. And once I was there, you didn't need money. You were taken care of. Everything was taken care of. So that's a little bit different. But nowadays it's like the energy is not so much for ashrams right now. It's not to go find a master. Everybody's supposed to find the master inside themselves now. And we have lots of help from the other side, and so it's a little bit different now. But so you can have a job and carry on your practice, you know, and surround yourself with the same kind of people. And but if you follow your heart, I mean, if you're going to have to work for a certain period of your life, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, do something you love doing, you know. Don't worry about the money. You know, like back when I became an acupuncturist, the whole world, you're not going to make much money. You know, back then they just, you know, we were brand new here. It hadn't been around very long. It's like, you know, you're not going to make much money or anything. And I said, I don't care. You know, I love doing this. And I did great. You know, the money comes. You just follow your heart. If you follow your heart, everything else will take care of itself. That's your connection with God, and God will take care of you. And you've got Judah, and you've got all these, you would not believe how many people have come through her. And like, she has all these different people coming through her now. We've had at least 15 different souls. And if you have something you need help with, like there's the scientists, if you need something about science, if you want to do, you know, we have Edward Casey comes through. You know, I don't know if you know about him, the healer.
I don't know.
Okay, well, he's a healer.
I know Abraham.
Yeah, we've had Cryon.
Cryon.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did Abraham come through one time? Well, all we got to do is call him.
Who's coming through? What's happening?
Well, they tell us.
Yeah.
But and the ones who come frequently, I can tell. I guess you can tell too. But the voices change when they come through. And like I love the Artarians. Their energy is just kind of just lights you. I mean, it just is like just smooths you out. It's just such a nice energy. It's amazing. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I like the Palladians are some of my favorites. They're the ones who helped me with acupuncture. They're the ones who gave me my gifts in acupuncture. And when I have an issue with that, I'll go to them. But there's you know, so you got all the help. You know, these people they will help you. That's what they want to help you. That's what they're here for. They want to be used as much as possible. So, you know, and if you're stuck somewhere and you need to know something, call her up. She'll tell you over the phone.
Text me.
Yeah.
We'll ask you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I do have a couple questions.
You have a couple of questions, so let's do it.
Can I
you sit wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Can I, is it a good time to take this?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can ask questions about anything, my dear. Okay. Well, let's say hi to Judah and see if they have anything to say in the beginning, and then you offer your questions, okay?
Great.
All right. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
I was so excited when I heard that you were on the plane.
Yeah, it was like
so adventurous.
I was like, I'm either gonna do it or I'm not, and then it was just
go home.
It just brought back what it was like for me. It was unbelievable.
We were both cheering for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I kind of was able to like put the money thing in the background, and it was like it's gonna come eventually.
Well, Judah would like to start there if it's okay. Let's start right there. Okay, so this young man, well, hello, Amos, and welcome back. This young man has been on a great adventure, traveling all about the world and finding himself. We wish that every young person could have such a journey. And the beauty of this sort of journey is wherever you go, there you are. And Amos, you took your beautiful soul with you to each of these places and left your energetic imprint there, and each place that you went is all the better for it, you see. And we love, as we said to you some time ago, we're remembering, the vessel is remembering now some things we've spoken to you in the past. We love it for young people to have a space in your thinking of time in order to simply explore who and what one is. Entirely too much cultural pressure to have it all figured out as a young person. Because you see, all beings, we are in a state of evolution, not just human beings, but cosmic beings, angelic beings, on a spiritual journey. Every single soul, no matter whether it is inside a human casing or some other sort of body, astral body, light body, or some other sort of interdimensional body, we are still have this one thing in common, that we are souls on a spiritual journey traveling back to source and the magnitude of all that source is. And so all of us in ideally should be evolving, constantly growing, changing, exploring, going on foolish journeys as it might seem, but these journeys leading us to discovering, uncovering more of our truest nature, our authentic nature, and our power. And we imagine that as you went on your journey, you probably also uncovered some things and said, "Oh, this is what I am not. And yes, this is a part of me that I didn't know was there before. I'm going to embrace it." And so all of us are evolving, and all of us can grow, whether we are traveling in the physical third dimension on a journey, or in the third dimension, some might be sitting in a chair. For instance, this vessel just spent in the not too recent past, almost 2 years primarily just sitting in a chair, because of a chronic illness, which was preordained before time as a moment in which she would begin to know her true self and get connected with Source in a very powerful way. And so that was her journey. Yours was on a plane and by foot and train and by motorcycle and all the different ways that you moved around the world. Hers was in a chair. Sitting in a chair, and her spirit, her soul traveled where her body could not. And both are valid journeys, you see. And both have a spiritual outcome. The important part being that the soul was seeking and uncovering what the soul is and what it is not. So we heard you, young man, saying now you are back and there are some financial concerns from this jaunt that you have had, and just the everyday, normal concerns that human beings have about providing for themselves and sometimes others as well. And so we would like to say amen, and so be it, as the gentleman said, follow your heart. For there are many who are working in working situations in the culture, and the work is so misaligned with who they are, who their soul is. Now, when we talk about soul, just to remind you, we are talking about the eternal part of you that existed before you came to be in your mother's womb and will continue to exist on after your physical body has died. We are talking about that part of you. It is the part that is bigger than Amos. It is the eternal part. It is the God part of you. that has been many other things in other lives and will be other things in future lives. It is the truest part of you that can't really be defined by your job or where you live or who your family is, your friends are, and so on and so on. It is bigger than all of that, my dear. So how does one function in this third dimensional life? This life of cars and houses and things and food and bank accounts and this and that and the other. How does one function in that life and be true to one's heart? As the gentleman said, follow your heart. Be true to your soul. How do you do that? Well, you said it from your own mouth. It requires some faith. Yes, faith. Faith, here's the acronym for you. Forwarding all issues to higher beings. To source, to the creator, to angelic forces and hosts that are available to help. You can always forward things to them. I've done what I can here. Powers that be, source, creator, Yahweh, Jesus, whatever name you want to choose, it matters not. It is an indescribable power that is beyond our mental boxes. You say, I have done everything I can do here, right now, in this moment. I've done my best, and so I forward everything else to you. And I leave it with you. And so there is much to be said about this area, but for tonight we will say this thing, and it is this. Do your work first in meditation, and then do your third dimensional physical work, whatever it may be. Do the work first in meditation and imagination. Then let your body, your hands, your eyes, your ears, your mind, your feet do whatever work is in front of you to do. And if you will put things in that order of priority, eventually the two will become married together, and what you do with your physical time and being will be aligned with your soul. This vessel was taking a walk through the neighborhood this week, and she saw a paper bag with grass clippings by the side of the road in front of the neighbor's house, and the bag said on it the name of a hardware store, and then how doers get things done. The messaging there being, if you go to this store and you get your tools, your hammers and shovels and rakes and lawnmowers and paintbrushes and so on, and you do, things will get done. Okay, true enough in the third dimension. In the dimension of sight, touch, taste, feel, the concrete things in your world. But the vessel laughed to herself when she read the message, and she thought, ha ha, I get things done by meditating. Meditating, that is how doers get things done. Well, let's talk about from the third, if you go to the fourth dimension, how do we get things done in the fourth dimension, the realm of thought and emotion? Your personal thought and emotional life, where your perspective comes from. You see, when you were in all of those various cities and places, you perceived things differently than everyone else around you because of your experience, the sort of person that you are, where you come from, your family, your education or lack thereof, and all of those things, you see. So in the realm of thought and emotion, how do you get things done? In meditation, you let go of the constructs of your mind and you allow your soul, your heart, and its desires to come forth and begin to imagine the beautiful you that you are and want to be, and to be able to create alignment in your thoughts and emotions with Source. And you see those things as done. You see the bank account full and the bills paid. And you see that work, you imagine that work coming to you that fulfills you. That work in which you imagine that you are in the bed in the morning and the alarm goes off and your first thought is, oh, I can't wait to go to work, because you're so excited about what you are doing. You see? So you imagine, you get all this work done in your imagination meditation. For yes, you can create things with your hands, with your tools, with your filling out of resumes or whatever it is that you do. Yes, you can create things in that way, in a concrete form. But if you can come up a little bit higher into the fourth dimension of thought and emotion and begin to create from there what you want, there is more power there, my friend, more power. So you create it, and then you just let those things happen for you. You begin to attract, you attract what you want, and the resistance to what you want begins to fade and fade and fade. And you are attracting more and more of who and what you want to be. Now, how does this translate to ascending, to those ascending up into a fifth dimensional perspective? In a fifth dimensional perspective, you can welcome all things. And all things are acceptable, and all things come from a place of peace. And all things are done and complete. And there's nothing to imagine for. Everything is as it should be. And that, my dear, is where you will eventually wind up. Your feet will be firmly rooted in that space. Now, what questions can I answer?
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that definitely answered a lot just on my mind. I think, I guess how I had been thinking about how to go about my next steps was go get a job, save up a bunch of money, or go do some sales thing, or go into something that I perceive to be lucrative that could set me up, for years to come. But I guess what I've always known what I've wanted to do and haven't known how to go about doing it is I've always wanted to make a movie. And to my whole life, that's kind of been my dream. And I've done some filming stuff, some comedy stuff that actually I thought was really good and got a good reaction. So I've always, I guess I've tried to put it away, but that's always been in the back of my mind. And I think that's something that I should tap into. And it's another one of those things that I have the same sort of feelings. I know, right before I was about to decide whether or not to go on my trip, there's all sorts of feelings telling me no that I knew I just had to overcome. And I know that's probably preparing me in the future to make a move towards making movies. And,
yes.
And why I quit my job, I think was like another stage in that process of like getting me, like you were saying, away from something that was not like an alignment fit, and just like in this faith-based, like let's hope this happens. And I think there's obviously there's more work I had to do on myself, and with COVID and everything, and I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate. Like I know pretty much nothing about making a movie, and I am not like dying to move to LA, because it seems like the era of like great films and entertainment there has died down. And yeah, so I'm in this space of like trying to figure out how to navigate that. And then okay, yeah, I guess we'll stop there for that.
Well, can we answer some of that?
Yeah,
we're sorry if we cut you off. Please
no.
finish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when I got back, like I felt like in order to reach this level of confidence that I want, and just like, I don't even know if it's confidence. I think confidence would be just a byproduct of what I'm after, of like just like being myself. Like I see a glimmer of what I could be.
Okay, we have some thoughts for you.
Okay,
Yes.
We're gonna hire you in the future to make a movie for us.
Yes,
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Let's make a movie about Judah. Okay, now let's answer your question, my dear. You said that you've always had a feeling that you want to make movies.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not leaving you. So that sounds like something in your soul that is important. Well, first we will tell you that you have made movies in other lifetimes.
Interesting.
And so in these past lives, you were successful with your movies, and you worked through a lot of the struggles and issues and skill sets, acquisition of skill sets and so on needed for that industry. And you had some moderate success there. So we would say, when you said, we heard you say, well, I don't have any experience or training in this area. Well, actually you do. It's from a past life, but it is there nonetheless. And your soul remembers, you see, how to make movies. And that is why you're feeling some of this tug now. Your soul remembers having made those movies and the joy that you experienced from that. And also your soul remembers how hard you worked to acquire skill in that area. And your soul would like to utilize those skills now. So you can do that, you see, you can call that forth. Now this is happening for a lot of people. If you've ever seen a young child, we call them prodigies. Perhaps they're 2 or 3 or 4, and they sit down at the piano and play brilliant, extravagant pieces, perfect from ear, or maybe from reading music. How is it? Well, it is because they did those things in former lives. They acquired a lot of skill in a former life. And their soul is able to remember and pull forth that skill into this current incarnation as a young child. So you have a natural penchant there. Now, you said something about you're not sure about moving to LA. Well, let us tell you a story of this vessel's about that sort of thing. This vessel had big dreams for her music, and she worked very hard at songwriting and singing and touring and performing and making records, and she had some moderate success. She had investors investing $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in her records and so on, and she got to really live some dreams there. Now, at some point in her journey, when she met this gentleman, she was ready she wanted to continue singing. That her soul recognizes singing as a very authentic and true part of who she is. You see, and so she didn't want to ignore that part of who she was, but she did not want to be on the road all the time. So she began putting out her intention. This is important, young man, listen about intention. So she put forth an intention. I want to continue making music that's close to my heart, that's powerful and authentic and meaningful, and that is not shaped by cultural mindsets or retail boxes, or driven by what people think I should sing because it's pleasing to an audience or will make money. You see, she wanted to make authentic music. So that was the first intention. The second was, she didn't want to be traveling all around the place, sleeping in hotels and being away from her sweetheart. You see, that was the second intention. She wanted to be at home, making music close to her heart. And the third intention was that she wanted it to be excellent. She didn't want it to be shoddy, like she mixed it up in the kitchen sink. She wanted to have the best possible musicians and engineers and so on. And she knew these were primarily in Nashville and other cities as well, such as LA, but the Nashville being the one she had worked with the most. And so those were her wishes, and they seemed impossible. But she put forth that intention, and then, lo and behold, a young couple came knocking on their door for satsang one evening. And she'd never met the young man before, and the wife she had met briefly. And he was and is one of the most brilliant Nashville musicians she had met, very experienced, and had just moved into the neighborhood. Now go figure. And so now she makes music with this young man who has not just the skill and expertise, but the heart that she longed for, a pure heart with good intention. He also wanting to make soul-aligned, source-aligned music. And he comes right to the house and they make the music there. And so she does not have to be on the road, you see. So this is an example about how you can do the work in meditation through imagination and intention. And think big and be specific. And then let these things come to you. This is the law of attraction at work. And it absolutely works. So the world will tell you that money must be earned, but we will tell you, yes, you can earn money, but in the realm of the fourth and fifth dimension, money is attracted. Does that help you some?
It does, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just reflecting on that. That is just kind of crazy to think about. I've felt that my whole life, and it almost feels like my thought patterns have always been like looking at ways to like where the movie is and something. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess when I came back from my trip, and I was really able to start reflecting for a couple of days, because I think there's some stressors with traveling that maybe blocked me from really being able to kind of reflect. I noticed, like, I just felt that, like, I wasn't seeing something. Like, there's something on the tip of my tongue, sort of thing, like something right in front of me that I'm just missing. And it's like, even I was just walking the other night. It was like I didn't have like no anxiety, I felt good, but it also just felt like, wait a sec, like this isn't really me, or this isn't like I'm just not looking at this with like my true perspective. That's how I felt. And yeah, the other night I just felt like I just wasn't whatever I like been telling myself I was. I just realized I wasn't, and I don't know what that is on the other side of it.
Yes. Well, we will share with you a story from last week that applies here.
Okay, thank you.
This is a very old story oriented from India. There were 6 blind men on the side of the road, and they had never seen, obviously, an elephant. And they heard through the grapevine that an elephant was coming down the road where they begged each day. And so they wanted to experience this elephant and have some perception of it, of what kind of a beast it was. And so when the driver of the elephant came to where they were, each of the men felt the elephant. One grabbed the tail and said, oh, I know what an elephant is like now. It is like a rope. And the other gentleman happened to grab hold of the tusk, and he said, oh, I know what an elephant is like. It is like a spear. Smooth, firm, pointy, like a spear. And another of the blind men felt the side of the elephant and said, oh, I know now what an elephant is like. It is like a rough wall. And another happened to grab the elephant by the ear and said, oh, I know what an elephant is like. It is likened to a fan. And then the 5th blind man, he had laid hold of the elephant's leg and said, oh, I know what an elephant is like now. It is like a tree. And the last, he laid hold of the trunk and said, oh, I see, an elephant is like a snake. So this is what you were sensing on your walk the other day. You were sensing that your perspective is limited in some way, that there's more to this elephant. There's more to your soul, to who you are, to your God likeness, to the unfolding of your story in this incarnation than you are seeing at this time, you see. And so your perspective, like all beings, most beings on the earth, almost all, is limited to what is right in front of you. But through your connection with ones like this gentleman and this woman and the others who will come here that are part of this family, you may begin to see things from different perspectives. And you may thereby begin to see more of the elephant, more of the big picture, not just of who you are, but how you fit into the cosmos, and more of who God is, and all of the realm of the unseen. So the way you see more of the elephant and gain more perspective about yourself and about the cosmos is through your connection with others, and also through meditation. In meditation, my dear, you are lifted up, elevated to a higher state. And in that higher state, you may begin to see the whole elephant, you see. Or at the very least, more of it. Or see it from a different angle. Does that help?
That does, yeah, thanks.
Yes. Okay, what a wonderful evening, and we're very happy of your return, and we think that we're all a little satiated here, so we will end the channel here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So there was a study done one time, and each of our cells has ports, just like a port at a harbor for bringing in oxygen and nutrition and getting rid of waste like lactic acid and other things. So each cell has 1,000 points or whatever, ports or whatever, and half bring in and half excrete. What they discovered is that aging is the next cell has less ports, and then the next cell has ports, and the next cell has ports. But what they discovered is that when you do the same thing over and over and over again, you lose ports faster and faster. But if you start to do new things, your cells will make more ports.
Wow.
Therefore, one of our reasons for being here is new experiences, to experience life, to experience, not to work at the bank 9 to 5 every day, to climb mountains, to ride a surfboard, to do different experiences.